Hey, we've done it's 3 weeks in a row, huh?
Yeah, but is your screen frozen? Because mine is.
My screen is not frozen, and you're not frozen to
Okay,
me.
then I won't worry about it. I won't worry about it then. It just is. Everyone who's done one of these things has had this bizarre experience where you're staring at your frozen face, but everyone's saying, no, it's working fine. So I'll go with you that it's working fine, and we'll just steam on this Monday.
We'll hope for the best, and if there's a problem, executive producer and company owner Jason Puckett will fix it. The Take 5 with Groz with Gas, it's available every Monday, starting on Monday afternoon. That stays, I think, in perpetuity, as they say, at pucksports.com, on our own YouTube channel, and here's my favorite part, anywhere you get your podcasts. So
anywhere you say.
It says, I keep getting from Transistor, our podcast overlords, show achievements. Last week, Groz, our show was heard in 2 different countries. Now, I'm assuming that's America and Canada, but who knows? I mean, in this day and age, it could be anything. But so we've hit that achievement. We're truly worldwide now.
International, finally, after so many decades of desperately trying.
That's right. That's right.
Been an interesting week, huh?
Well, it's funny. Last week, and I don't blame you. I would blame you if you're still this way. You were a little lukewarm on getting too revved up about the Mariners, and now they've strung together 2 pretty good weeks. And they've won 4 series in a row. I don't know how long we can expect Cal Ripken and Rowdy Tellez to keep hitting this way. I still would like Julio to get going.
Did you say Cal Ripken?
Yeah, I think I probably did. Yeah, isn't he our catcher?
Don't scare me like that, man. I'm not as looped in as I used to be.
Cal Raleigh, of course. I think Cal Ripken would be an honest mistake to make. Boy, if Cal Raleigh ends up with Cal Ripken's career numbers, we'll all be thrilled. And I think we're thrilled nevertheless. I mean, this guy from the start has been a guy we've all liked. He's been percolating and percolating, and you kind of felt like he was sitting on a run like this. He's the leader. He's the best catcher this franchise has ever had. I don't think there's any question at this point now, Dave. Who would you say is better? There's nobody.
Nobody. The guy who was the best is the guy who's coaching him right now. So,
right.
I mean, he would probably agree completely. He's just such a complete player. It's remarkable, because defensively he's fantastic. I mean, there's no issues there. His hitting has gotten better every year. I mean, actually, batting average doesn't mean shit anymore. It's a good thing because he leads them in batting average at 233. But on pace to hit 60 home runs, which I don't think he's going to do necessarily. But he has shown everything he's shown is that he's going to continue to improve. I mean, he really has had a straight on rise since the day he got here, and it's been great to see. And it was a really good week for them. I mean, we're not going to get too carried away. I mean, if the Chicago Cubs are averaging 10 runs a game, it seems like they're not quite going to do that all year long. We're still in April, so we'll keep our shoes on. But I like what I've seen so far. And you know what? They've got some intangibles going for them, Gas. I mean, they really do. I think, and I thought when they got him that Randy Arozarena is one of those players who just has intangibles. I mean, he's I think about it when he departed Toronto. Remember, he went around and went all the way around the outside of, in the ballpark, went to the second level and thanked everyone.
Yeah.
He's a clutch player in the postseason. He's shown his clutch a little bit here. I just kind of like what he has going for him. They've got it going, their pitching staff all through it. And you got Munoz who, we always talk about, for good things going to happen, you need guys to have career years. It always takes a few guys to have career years, and there's one right there for you. I mean, he's on his way to an insane closer season, the way he's going right now. And so you've got that going. You're doing it without too much from Julio right now, who I think is obviously going to have to be a part of it in a big manner before this thing is over with. But there's no reason to suggest that he's not going to be. So I think, he'll pick it up. But, Dylan Moore. I mean, you talked about him last week. He's still a guy I like better as a Swiss Army knife player, a Mark McLemore player, but
right.
He's got 5 home runs. He's playing great. So I like the X factors they got going for them as well. It's a good team to watch so far. But I mean, look, it's probably the kiss of death now. He'll probably go into Boston and won't be able to score, and Miami will blow him out over the weekend. But so far, so good, I think.
You're never more than a week away from a 7-game losing streak, and things can come unraveled. It's a long season. Groz, what have we, 33, 34 years now, we've been yakking at each other, and I think every single one of those years I've said to you, something that feels like never happens to the M's, is is you get into September and a team's in the pennant race, which also feels like it never happens to the M's, but let's just say they are. The teams that are in pennant races, the teams that play in October, there's always one guy. And they say, well, yeah, the Blue Jays weren't expecting anything out of Joe Slobotnik this year. He started the year in the minor leagues, but then after an injury, he came up. What if Ben Williams, the Mariners never have that guy. What if Ben Williamson is that guy? What if he's a guy who they liked him and they had him ticketed, but it's like he's not going to contribute this year. And all of a sudden he's in a position where he has to, and he's stepping up and doing it. I mean, it's been 10 days. I get it. But you know what I mean? It feels like they haven't had that for a long time.
No, you're right. I mean, you have to have that. And we've talked, alluded to a little bit that, this is the 95, another anniversary of that team, 30 years now. But, that's a good team to look at for those aspects of it. And they had a couple guys there, who really stepped up in a big way and were clutch. I mean, Doug Strange was one who jumps to mind. Alex Diaz, who played center field for a whole stretch when Junior was out. He came up big, a guy you wouldn't have expected. So you do have those guys. You got to have those guys. Plus, we talked about the guys you got to have career years. You had Randy Johnson's career year there going for him. So you've got a lot of things potentially working for you, I think. The division is, I don't think it's a great division, but I think it's a pretty good division. I think everyone is pretty good in it. I think the standings kind of reflect the fact that there's not a lot of separation between them. I mean, if the Mariners had lost, 2 games instead of 1, 2 games, they'd be in last place now.
Yeah, right.
In Oakland. So it's going to be hopefully it's going to be a good race, and hopefully we keep seeing positive things happen, not negative things.
And the big news is, we both agree Julio's got to get it going, and if he doesn't, then a lot of this is going to be for mood. So if he gets it going, if Polanco can keep getting healthier and they're able to use him more, he's been fantastic. They get Robles back, which is still a month away. I mean, they've got guys. You get Kirby back. And maybe, just maybe, and I say this having known the guy as long as you have, maybe, just maybe Dan Wilson knows what he's doing, and you got to figure, the fun thing about Wilson is he's a pretty bright guy to start with. He's got a great baseball pedigree, and he's getting confidence every single day, like anybody in what is essentially a new job still for him. He started last August. Every day that passes by, he's getting more, let's try this. No, I want to try this time. Well, we're going to do this. We're going to plug this guy in, and he's feeling that. It's fun to see him off to this good start and how they're playing, and we'll see how they do with the Red Sox and then Miami and the Angels coming in. It's funny, and all of a sudden you're a month into it. We always joke, when does it stop being early? When is it no longer early? And they're playing well.
They are so far, and we'll see if they can keep it up. And just the way they're playing, I think, is what we're talking about here. They're playing in a way that's. Another thing I always have said to you over the past 30 years or so is this sustainable? Is what's going on now something that can go on all year? Now, for certain aspects of it, certain guys aren't going to be as hot as they are now, but they're not doing anything out of the ordinary. Not doing anything crazy that they can't do. Their pitching is going to be good. So, you've got pieces in place that maybe you weren't as sure about, or at least I wasn't as sure about when the year started, that are working out for them so far. But, of course, a long way to go, and that's the fun of baseball anyway.
Yeah, that's what Billy Ripken told us that one time. Oh, that's the fun of baseball, huh? There's a lot of games. The other big, a week from today, we'll know who the newest Seahawks are, at least who the guys are who are going to try to become Seahawks. They've got a million draft picks that you'd think John Schneider, who always loves to kind of goof around and trade and make moves and go up and go down, that he'll be busy this week. But let's just focus on that first round, Groz. What would you like to see this team do with that? I think it's the 18th pick. What do you think they will do?
Trade down for more picks.
Yeah, right.
I honestly do.
It's the least sexy thing possible, but it's what they like to do.
Well, they had a chance. What was it, last year or the year before, to grab that defensive lineman who no one had taken a defensive player in the draft for 12 picks in front of him, so it became an obvious, we got to get this guy. I think, what you're looking at in the draft for these guys is not a secret to anyone. Unless you're going to get it through free agency now, I don't see you have enough room for that, but you need offensive linemen, and you need more than one. You need a gaggle of them, an absolute gaggle of them. Right. So, I think that unless they see a guy, a tackle they particularly like, or an interior lineman they particularly like there, I would not be surprised to see them trade down to get more picks, which is fine by me. But, that's what they got to address. In my book, that's what they got to address more than anything, because I do not believe for 1 second that Sam Darnold can be as effective as Geno Smith was behind an offensive line that he had last year. So I don't think that would have been sustainable at all. So they need to do that, and I'm sure that they'll do it, and I'm not sure when or how or with whom, because I never claimed to be a draft expert, and I'm not. But I'm curious to see exactly how he plays it out. This is a homecoming for Schneider, back in Green Bay for the draft. So maybe he'll want to make a splash or something like that. But I don't know. It's not really a very intriguing answer. But do you think any differently than that? Do you think it's any different than going after offensive line?
No,
Primarily?
I think that's exactly what they do. He's got a decent track record. I think he's taken 3 offensive linemen over the course of time in the first round. John Schneider has, starting with Russell Okung, who, injuries really prevented him from being maybe as good as he could have been. He wasn't a washout. He maybe wasn't as great as a first-round pick you would have expected. Jermaine Ifedi, same thing, not necessarily injuries. He had a 10-year NFL career, but not great. The third guy, though, Charles Cross, a guy that took a couple of years ago, I think people think this guy's pretty good. So in other words, it seems like they're good at identifying offensive linemen. I like the kid from North Dakota State. What's his name? Gray Zabel. He sounds like an author or something. Gray Zabel, like he writes cowboy books or something. Zane Gray, I guess is what I'm thinking of. He's a center and a guard. I know whoever your scouts tell you is the most likely to be able to come in and contribute right away in the middle of the line. I think you need guard center help. And this guy from North Dakota State is a guard center. There's a guard from Ohio State that people are high on. Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I'm the furthest thing from an expert, but it just seems like that's what they've got to do. The stats all indicate they've got to get a little better running the ball. They got to protect Darnold, because you're right. I mean, that's what's the point of getting him if you're not going to keep him upright? Right.
And he's not going to be as quick on his feet, in terms of identifying things as Geno Smith was because of his, lack of experience in that matter. But, I think that, and then beyond that, you got a defensive head coach now. So, you're gonna go heavily for defense. I would think you want to give your new coach more toys to play with. So if they see an impact defensive player, I think that's something that they would like to, and I'd be all right with that on almost any position that they choose. But it's an important draft. You're right, because they've got a lot of picks, and you don't want this to be the case that much longer. You want to finally get those things clicking for you. So it's always an interesting day. It's just day. Forgive me. It's 4 days now, isn't it?
Three at least. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it's so it'll be intriguing to see what they do, but I'll stand by. I think they're going to trade out of that, not out of the first round, but they'll trade down that first pick.
Well, it looks like with the number, let's just say they agree with us that offensive line is where they want to go. There's a number of guys who seem to be jumbled together in terms of how they're being analyzed, and it looks like that's exactly what you could do. You could drop down 4 or 5 picks, get later picks. With the amount of picks they've got, with where the franchise is, which is not terrible, but not great. You're kind of in the middle. You don't want to stay there too long. This is a big draft. I mean, if they're sitting there at the end of this season and they've struggled, they've made a mistake on Darnold. They didn't do as good in the draft. I mean, you'd think there's going to be big changes. It's hard to say because it's hard to gauge how involved and active Jody Allen is. And in some ways that can be great, an owner that's got money and stays out of your way. But I think this becomes a pretty important draft for Schneider.
I think alarm bells went off in my head when you said that. Maybe that's because of my medication. I don't know. But I think actually it's, you're right. And if that happens, then let's say you're looking at a change. So you could change John Schneider out. I mean, you've had 3 offensive coordinators in the last 4 years, 2 head coaches now in the last 3 years. 4 quarterbacks, in the last couple. I mean, you're getting dangerously close to being one of those franchises where I think that's what the Mariners did for years and years. Is you changed up too often,
right?
And the NFL, it's much more demanding in terms of be successful now. I mean, we see coaches go after one bad year in this league. So the Mariners, Seahawks for the most part have been able to avoid that. It'd be nice to be able to continue to avoid that if they can. But a bad year, like you point out, puts everyone's job in jeopardy.
Yeah, I would think so. And again, it's funny how fast the time goes. I saw something the other day where the Seahawks are like 3rd on the list of NFC teams who have gone the longest without playing in the championship game of the conference. So it's been a decade. But that's how fast it churns and burns in this league, and you've got to get yourself ready. Again, I'll say this for what they've done in the offseason. They decided that Geno wanted too much, They made the move with him. They made the move with they haven't been flailing. You're right. They're changing up, but it wasn't as if they were sitting around for weeks trying to figure what to do. They went out and were decisive about things. Now with the draft coming up and a big one, and they can hopefully find themselves replenished and restocked and find some guys. Find the next Tyler Lockett. Find a guy a couple of rounds in who's going to contribute for you for 10 years. At whatever position, and do that. And it feels like Schneider's, people talk about he's been living off that one draft or a couple of drafts for a long, long time. Here's one, because he's the clear-cut guy now for the last couple of years. Here you go. Go out and do something with this. And I'm sure it'd be funny if he's like, oh, shit, I hadn't thought of that. Until I heard it on the Groz and Gas Tank 5 show, I hadn't thought about doing stuff. Did you see Steve Kerr last night after the NBA game or something said, did you talk to your team about how physical this was going to be? And he goes, I totally forgot to tell them the Rockets are physical. I'm glad you brought that up. We never even thought about it during practice. So Schneider knows it, and now you got to go out and do it. Knowing it and doing it, two big different things.
Yes, you know what I got in my hands right here?
It looks like a piece of. I'm going to guess it's a betting slip, knowing your love of wagering. It's a betting slip.
It's 3 betting slips. Even though you can bet on sports here, whatever you want. You know me, I like to bet long. I like to bet ahead. I like to bet futures.
Sure. Yeah. What do you got?
Holding in my hand the 3 tickets I've got alive to win the Stanley Cup this year.
Okay.
At 11-1, the Winnipeg Jets.
I think that's a great
13-1, the Colorado Avalanche.
All right.
And who's my other one here? And at 15-1, the Toronto Maple Leafs.
There's your problem, gambler kids. Yeah, I bet on somebody else I know. I'm not sure who it is, but it's somebody. So you got the Maple. I love the Jets pick. I think the Jets they've been great all year, and I just. Isn't Canada going to win a cup eventually? I'm rooting for Canada. This has been a rough year for Canada. Well, not a rough year, but they don't like being in the news, and they've been in the news a lot this year. I'd love to see Winnipeg do it. I think 11-1 on Winnipeg. That's a great number.
Start of the year, and they had the best record. It's been a long time since the team has won with the best record. Not 10 years, not that long, but the Avalanche really finished strong. And the interesting thing about the Stanley Cup playoffs to me is, I don't know if it was just the way the draw came out or the way teams play, but you've got a couple of matchups in the first round that you could argue could be championship matchups. For to go to the Stanley Cup, you got Florida and Tampa playing in the first round in the East, and Colorado's playing Dallas in the first round in the West. And it surprised me to see that the chips fell that way. It's how close the NHL races during the year that things can change like that. So unlike the NBA, which, pretty much stay with the chalk the first round or two, I think the Stanley Cup playoffs are wide open from the very get-go.
And credit where credit is due. We talked about the TV ratings for the NHL being abysmal this year, and they are, not just in Seattle, all over. Attendance, for the third year in a row, they set an attendance record. Their arenas are playing to 100% plus capacity. It's a little funny math how they're doing the record, because every year they do more of these stadium games, and that's helping them set the record. But nevertheless, they had 94,000 people come out and watch Columbus play at Ohio Stadium, so that money counts. And then the Kraken in the news right after we did our show last week. The Kraken announcing a pretty significant cut in ticket prices for season ticket holders. I know a guy who's got club seats who said he was kind of prepared to walk away, and this changed his mind. He said, all right, good. They're addressing the fact that they're overcharging for what they're delivering right now. It's
master
interesting.
Stroke.
Yeah, it's a master stroke, but it's interesting. You cut ticket prices, you add to the benefits you're going to get as a ticket person, but you keep the GM, you keep the coach. Now, there's some analysis that the Kraken were better than people think this year and that they're not as far off. But, boy, if you get out into next year and you're struggling again, people are they're going to be worried about the ticket prices, but also worried about who's making the decisions up there. And
and I think you still might have someone added to that front office, and before too long, another pair of eyes on the whole thing. But it was a master stroke by the master of all, Todd Lewicki. He did it right away. He took care of his fan base right away. He brought him in. Was it 2 days after the season ended?
No, it's the day of the last game. How about that? The day of the last game, they do it.
Yeah, real smart. Just acknowledging that you're not where you want to be, and you appreciate the fact that your fans are staying with them, and we're going to reward you for that. I mean, it seems simple, but who the hell ever does that shit? No
Right.
one anymore.
Right.
So I thought it was a really good move. And look, we're both partial to Lewicki, and I think we're both like the Kraken as well. I mean, I want to see them do well. So this is a big offseason, as you pointed out, for them, because they spent some money last year, and it did not pay off the way they anticipated it would. So, again, they'll be looking at probably shuffling the deck if things don't get better for them next year.
It reminded me a little bit of a story from my soccer book, the Sounders FC book, where after the Sounders in I think it was in their first year in MLS, they just got blitzed by LA 5-0 in a regular season game. And Lewicki was out, his daughter was taking a horse riding lesson, so he's out at the barn watching her ride. His phone rings, and it's Adrian Hanauer. And Adrian says, listen, I've made a decision after the game last night. And Todd goes, yeah, what? And he goes, I'm giving fans their money back. And Todd goes, wait, what do you mean? And he goes, I'm giving them their money back for last night, which was, I think, shocking to everybody involved. But it
Right.
is, the Sounders are a team that have said their fan base has stayed with them. The Kraken, I think there is.
That's how you get the fan base to stay with you, man.
Right. You hit them in the pocketbook. That matters to everybody. Nobody's going to think that isn't a good idea. And it's, I was not surprised when I saw it, because I'm with you. I think Todd, we've both known him for a long time. He listens to fans. I mean, look, the 12th man flag getting raised at the stadium was Todd listening to Seahawks fans the first year he came in, and they were mad that they hadn't brought the 12 jersey over from the King. Inexplicably, they decided not to bring the 12 jersey over from the Kingdom, and fans were mad about it. And Lewicki, like 3 or 4 days, he comes up with the idea. Why don't we do this? Let's do it every game. And now every team in the NFL does something like that at the start of games. So he's a sharp operator, and I think it's a good move.
They're going to be better.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're going to be better.
Absolutely.
So, Gas, what do you think about a guy having a nice NFL career and then wrapping it up by playing college football?
It'd be a dream
What a
come
shit
true.
show is going on with the NCAA now.
Yeah, John Wilner wrote about that this week, that with all the lawsuits that are going on, he says, lawyers, naturally, are testing the boundaries of the NCAA right now. And that he's heard that there's some momentum to try and allow guys to play college football after their pro career or college
momentum
sports.
to it. They can't do anything about it.
Yeah, and what was the other thing, that guys could transfer in season? Your quarterback could have a great day against whoever, and the next day say, oh, by the way, I'm leaving. I'm going somewhere
playing
else.
against you next week.
Yeah, I'm going to be. Yeah, so whether that'll happen or not, it kind of gets back to how poorly governed the NCAA. They just did a poor job of governance of their sports. They got so hung up on little bitty dumb rules that they avoided the big picture for so long, and now it's out of their control. I mean, college sports is being run by Fox, by ESPN, by the Big Ten, and by the SEC, and that the NCAA is fifth in the pecking order of making any decisions.
What a pet peeve of mine, but I've been talking to you about it for 25 years, saying they run like a tin horn.
Yeah.
Dictatorship, and it's going to catch up with them. I used to argue with our good friend Bill Hogan all the time because, look, when I talk about college sports being screwed up, it's not the people that are in it per se. It's the ones who were in charge of the whole overriding thing. I mean, we've all talked to coaches and ADs, and I'm not painting them with one brush. Bill was a great guy. We'd have this discussion all the time where I told him, if you guys don't start paying these players, you're going to lose everything. And, Bill would look me, and I had a great argument, great discussions with this guy, and say, no, I don't think it can happen. It can't happen. What was going to have to happen? I mean, you cannot continue to run this thing the way you did. And now they are still, I mean, they're truly the turtle on its backside. And they can't do a thing about it. And they literally, every time they turn the corner, there's someone who can upset the apple cart the way it is. So it's funny. I just think that the NCAA is kind of reaping what they sow, but it's going to be very difficult for them to get out of this because, one of the things that talked about in the article quickly was doing a collective bargaining agreement, right? That's what you'd have to do with the NCAA and the athletes, but then you'd have to admit that the athletes are employees.
Yeah, right.
Which gives you a whole other set of problems to work with. So, yeah, it's a bad situation there. It's okay on the field so far, but it's not that good long term. I think there's really some issues here that could really, hate to say it, but sink college sports.
Well, I mean, I keep looking at the money side of it, Groz. UCLA's athletic department over the last 5 years has spent $200 million more than they brought in.
Yeah.
That's not sustainable.
No, it's not.
That is simply not sustainable. And I mean, Washington's in a situation where they're in the hole a little bit. The TV money's great for the time being, but eventually it will dry up, or not dry up, but eventually it will level off, I think. People say, well, what about streaming? And what about this? What about that? Well, at some point you're hitting the ceiling of all this money, I think. And if you're UCLA, one of the great names in college sports, and you're $200 million underwater, it's not sustainable, Dave. That's my economic analysis.
Good sharp analysis there. Crackerjack point, gas man.
That's right. And one last
we've still got it.
One last college sports note for you that I think you'll like. I don't know if you saw this story this week. Can you tell me, Groz, and I'll say that you know this person personally, can you tell me who the all-time Big Ten stolen base leader in women's softball is? Any idea? Did you see this story?
No, I did not, and I have no idea.
It's your friend and mine, Angie Mentink, legendary Big Ten softball player. Angie held the Pac-12 record for years for stolen bases in softball. Career record. I think it's like 62. She's a great player. Angie was a great player.
Yeah.
Then somebody from Arizona broke it, so she no longer held it. But then when Arizona went to the Big 12, she held it again, and now she's in the UW's in the Big Ten. So some poor kid in the Big Ten went out and stole a bunch of bases over the course of the years, but Angie has come in and swooped in and nailed the record now. So Angie is the all-time Big Ten stolen base leader. Just another one of the crazy notes of college sports that's going on right now.
Well, she's having a year, isn't she?
She's having a hell of a year, isn't she? Good for you, Angie. Keep it up. All right, guys, you want to end the news story about the Medaka fish? It's a fish usually found in the Sea of Japan.
Okay.
The Medaka fish, and according to the Royal Society, Medaka, according to the Royal Society of Open Science, or maybe Sinus, you'll get that in a minute. They have found that the Medaka fish are able to mate 19 times a day on average, and some of them can mate as many as 27 times. But the scientists admitted that the ones that mate 27 times a day seem to lose interest as they get near at the end of the day.
Once you hit 21 or 22, it's like, what the hell is going on here?
I'm exhausted. Just let me watch the game, please. Oh, all hail the Medaka fish.
See you next week.
See you later, pal.